Earlier this month, the office of the President of the United States was asked if the leader of the free world had been briefed on numerous, quote, creepy clown sightings happening around the country in 2016. This is in October, if you're listening to this later. In Alabama, a woman called 911 because she was terrified after seeing a man dressed like a clown behaving in a menacing manner in a Walmart parking lot. Schools in Ohio were closed recently because of numerous scary clown sightings. A clown in New York chased a teen out of a subway. Man in Kentucky arrested for dressing up as a clown and hiding in the woods. And so on, and so on, and so on. There's been so much media coverage and national fear regarding clowns that Stephen King himself, author of It, creator of Pennywise, arguably the scariest clown to ever crawl off the written page, asked America to calm down. The master of horror tweeted, "Hey guys, time to cool the clown hysteria. Most of them are good, cheer up the kiddies, make people laugh." You know, clown fear has gone on, it's gone too far. When Mr. King himself says we should take it easy, I mean, that is comparable to Hitler in 1944 coming out and just saying, all right, everybody, let's ease up on the Jews. Most of them are super cool. I just didn't think it would go this far. Work can wait. It's time to bring in the clowns. It's time for Timesuck.
You're listening to Timesuck.
All right, well, first off, I want to say I picked this topic because someone tweeted me about it, and I was already thinking about it because there's so much media coverage of clowns right now, and because I did a bit on one of my albums about being afraid of clowns myself, which is totally true. I've gotten just lots of Facebook messages and lots of posts in the last, I would say, 2 months about this whole clown craze. Like by far the most messages and stuff I've got since that album came out in like 2010. And so I was already definitely getting more and more curious. Where I'm like, how many articles are out there about clowns? And and so of course I got sucked into a Timesuck over the weekend and just spent hours just trying to figure out what the hell is going on with all the clown stuff. And so I had other episodes already recorded for Timesuck, but I wanted to get this one in line faster. I wanted to kind of rush this one forward, bump some other topics to later on. And it just feels right, kind of, as we're coming up towards Halloween, this feels like a Halloween-ish topic. And by the way, if you want me to dissect other things that you're really interested in, like if you would love to see me jump into some other topic, hit me up, on Twitter at dcummins, I'm sorry, I can't even do my own Twitter, D_Cummins, or Facebook or Instagram at Dan Cummins Comedy. And I'm working on getting a comment section up and running at timesuckpodcast.com. I've just been so busy touring and doing some other stuff that the website is up, but it needs updating, and I need to know how to update it. So that'll be going very soon. We'll have a whole little comment thread where we can go back and forth and all that stuff. And so now let's just get into this whole clown thing. And by the way, I've been prepping these. I've been trying to tinker with the format a little bit, trying to find that balance of research and just humor, and make it as topical as I can. But I can't always just, due to touring needs and things, be in a place where I can record it like the day of and then quickly throw it up there. So this is October 10th. This is going to come out next Monday, and I'm sure some other articles will come out about clowns. Like I just looked on the web right now, and another one came out today. I mean, every day, literally every day, there's more articles now. This one's like killer clown sightings mapped out across the UK. Craze continues to terrify. And there's just this graphic of just city after city after city of all these clown sightings. And then, but first, before we get into 2016, what's happening right now, let's break it down. Let's get into some backstory. And first off, I think I got to start with like what I think of clowns. And again, if you haven't heard, I do a true story about what happened when I was a kid that made me fearful of clowns. And I'll try and summarize it right now, just to bring you up to speed on where I'm at. And people always wonder if my bits are true. And on my early albums, I did some obvious absurd things on the first two that are clearly just being ridiculous. But when I do talk about real life, I am honest on these albums. And the clown story is 100% true, where for some reason when I was little, I was into clowns. I don't know why. There are pictures of me when I was like 3-4 years old, wearing like a clown suit with little white makeup, the red nose, the whole thing, like dressed up as a clown. Because apparently I'm inherently evil. It's the only thing I can come up with. I don't know. But seriously, I was really into clowns. There was some kind of parade in my little town of Ricketts, Idaho. Every year there's been like a small town parade. And when I was a little kid, like I marched the parade as a clown. I for the life of me, I don't know why I was into that. No one in my family can explain. I just on my own, I just got into clowns, which is creepy. And and I've been referred to as being able to be creepy my whole life. So I guess maybe I just am a little creepy. I guess I don't know where it comes from. I'm just born with it. Some of us are just lucky. Some of us just born creeps. But so I was into it, and I had dolls. I had clown dolls, and then when I was like, it's so blurry when you're a little kid, but just based on where we were living at the time. I think I was like, I want to say 6 years old, roughly, maybe 7, one of those two. My parents had HBO, and, they would leave it on, not paying attention, or not even just leave it on, but I was smart enough at that age to know what channel HBO was, I guess. I don't know for sure, but I know that when no one was looking one time, I started watching the TV, and Poltergeist came on. And so, it was an intense movie, and I'm not going to not watch it if I happen to be walking by and this thing's on as a little kid. I'm curious. And I was very unlucky. I watched this scene where there's a little boy in this movie. This is like a 1982, I believe that movie came out, early 80s. And I'll fact check that later. I'll clear that up if I'm wrong. But around there. But anyway, it was on TV, and there's a scene where this boy has a clown doll sitting in the corner of his room. And he's freaked out by it. There's spooky stuff happening in the house. And then all of a sudden, he looks over on the chair by the door where the clown is supposed to be his doll, and it's not there. He looks under the bed. It's not there. When he pops up from looking under the bed, it is fucking there. It is on him. And it's trying to choke him out with its creepy long arms. It's a really scary. It's still, I'm like getting the chills right now. I hate it that I get so freaked out by this shit, but it really traumatized me as a kid because I had that same fucking clown doll. It wasn't like something made for the movie. I had, if not exactly the same, a very similar looking clown doll. We don't have it anymore, so I can't verify exactly, but in my mind, I had the same goddamn doll, and I had it in my room. It was a bigger doll, just like that kid sitting on a chair. And the kid in the movie was roughly my age. So it was basically like watching myself getting fucking strangled by my own toy. And it scared the shit out of me. But I didn't say anything because I didn't want to get in trouble because I knew I wasn't supposed to be watching HBO. Even if it was like left on or whatever, I wasn't supposed to be watching it. So my little kid rationale is I took it downstairs and I hung it off a doorknob by some little string it had on it, and I just beat the shit out of it. I'm sure I was saying all kind of little tough things. That'll scare me. I'm tough. Yeah, how tough are you now? I'll kill you. Ugh, just punching it away. and then I threw it in the trash, yeah, fuck you, clown. Get out of here. And then I went to bed, feeling a little better about the whole situation. I'm sure I was still, kind of skeeved out. But I go to bed, and after I fell asleep, my mom, like any little kid, probably you leave stuff around. She's used to picking up after you. And just like I do with my kids now. And she must have thought I threw the clown in the trash by mistake. So she put it back in my room, and I wake up to go to the bathroom at some point in the night, and that fucking clown is back. He is back in the corner, magically reappeared, and so I'm like, oh, shit. Like, not only is he back, he must be very upset, because I was working him over. I was beating his ass downstairs. Now he's back. He's clearly not happy, and I'm going to die. And it scared me. It like paralyzed me with fear. Like I didn't even yell out. I still didn't want to get in trouble. I was so afraid of like getting in trouble as a kid for some reason that I would just torture myself with fear instead of just, letting everybody know what happened. And I just tried to fall back asleep. I don't know if I fell back asleep that night or stayed up, but I do know I had recurring nightmares for days, weeks, maybe months, for a while. And I do know my mom still is weird about not letting you get rid of stuff. Like my mom will buy me a shirt, and then like 5 years later, just like, so do you wear that? Do you wear that shirt? Like she bought me a bike when I was probably like 24, 25. I don't know. She's like, what do you want for Christmas? I was like, I don't know, a bike. Like, I was thinking about, riding around. So she gets me a bike. And then I just didn't ride it a whole bunch. I don't know, whatever. But then like 10 years later, she'd still be like, say, are you still, do you use the bike much? Do you ride the bike? And as a kid, she still has my toys. She's still convinced. I've told her 1,000 fucking times that these Star Wars toys I had as a kid, that I played with them way too much. They're not in the box. They're not mint. They're not worth shit. She will still be like, I bet those Star Wars toys are worth some money. And just like, do you have all of them? Do you have like if I would have, these are toys she bought me over 30 years ago. But she has this expectation that if she ever gets you anything, you just keep it till death, I guess. You have to keep it till death. And so the clown doll, at some point, she knew that I was afraid of it. but she just kept putting it in my room. She wouldn't let me get rid of it. I must have been an expensive clown doll or something. So fucked up. Looking back, like, why? Just throw it away. Yeah. Eventually I talked to her. But anyway, it went on long enough. I had to sleep in this goddamn same room with this nightmare of a doll after seeing that piece of shit movie, that it really deeply ingrained this fear of clowns into me. And then, because I was an idiot as a kid and liked to scare myself, I was constantly watching scary movies, even though I was very sensitive to nightmares. I've always liked to rile myself up, I guess. So then I was really scared. And then I read It around 6th grade, and that was a fucking mistake. It is this ancient demonic extraterrestrial monster in the Stephen King book, that feeds on the people of Derry, Maine every 27 years. It like comes out of hibernation for 3 years and hibernates again. And it takes the form of whatever you fear most. It's kind of this shapeless thing, or maybe it has a shape, but no one knows for sure what it is. It's like a fucking spider at one point, because that's supposed to be scary. But for most of the book, it's a clown. It takes the form of this Pennywise clown, and it scares the shit out of these kids. It's just the main characters in the story, and the adults, it has this power to kind of make people forget about it or not see it. And it's kind of like hypnotize the adults, and only the kids can see it. And so, which plays into your fear as a kid, that there's a monster that is definitely real, definitely trying to kill you, but your parents cannot see it because it has them hypnotized. So I'm like, I fucked myself reading that. Oh, that brought it all back. So then I'm really scared of clowns after that. And my family, because they're dickheads, they think it's funny. And several Christmases ago, I opened up this present, and I'm not used to getting usually they do gift cards. And I was like, this is weird. I got this big package. And it was a little coffin. No shit. It was like a little coffin. I'm like, what the fuck? And they had me open up in front of everybody. And inside the coffin is this creepy as shit little clown doll that I'm looking in a mirror down the hall, and it's so embarrassing. I'm not even a young grown man at this point. I'm a dad. And if I saw that goddamn clown in the reflection of this mirror right now, I would lose my shit on this podcast. It would just be a fucking scream, and that would be the end of you would never hear it, because oh God, I can't even look at the mirror right now. See, I'm getting myself worked up just talking about this subject. And anyway, my mom, the clown doll, I don't want to keep it. So then but they have it in the house somewhere when I go home, and they won't tell me where it is. My mom keeps saying that she's going to it'll be in the bed next to me when I wake up. My mom, if you don't, I think hopefully you know where I get my dark sense of humor now. And sometimes she'll send me pictures. She doesn't really send me pictures that often, but sometimes she'll just send me a picture of this clown on a holiday, like on St. Patrick's Day. It'll be wearing a little green shirt or something, and she'll just say that, it's been watching me, that it misses me. It's fucked up. So there you go. So that's why I'm afraid of clowns. So then it got me thinking, though, but I've never I've kind of thought, but I've never researched, why are clowns so scary? Kind of scientifically, psychologically, why are they scary? Why are people like me, I read other horror books. I read several other horror books, Jack Nicholson, in The Shining. That was a really scary book, but it didn't make me terrified of hauntings. I read a lot of Stephen. Pet Sematary was a super scary book. It didn't make me scared of, people coming back out of their graves, kind of zombie-esque. There was, I didn't get scared of the other things. He was in The Stand. I didn't get, scared of this Roland Flagg devil character. Why clowns? Okay, here we go. According to psychology professor Joseph Derwin at California State University, Northridge, young children are, quote, very reactive to a familiar body type with an unfamiliar face. And they've studied this the kind of this phobia in it's with clowns, and they think there's a correlation to the Uncanny Valley effect, and it's called the Uncanny Valley effect. And also, clown behavior is like transgressive; it's antisocial. Like they're breaking social norms, which also creates just kind of unease when you're a kid. And you're taught that people are supposed to follow certain rules, and clowns break those for comedy, but it also can be kind of scary. And then, so the significant aberrations in a clown's face, I'm going to get into this Uncanny Valley, what it is, may alter a person's appearance so much that it enters the so-called Uncanny Valley, in which a figure is lifelike enough to be disturbing, but not realistic enough to be pleasant. And it scares a kid so much that the phobia can carry over into kind of adulthood. And so, just to describe this further, in aesthetics, the Uncanny Valley is the hypothesis that human replicas that appear almost, but not exactly like real human beings elicit feelings of eeriness and revulsion among some observers. And there's like this graph, like this valley, like this. The graph is the shape of this valley, is why they call it this, and it denotes a dip in the human observer's affinity for the replica, a relation that otherwise increases with the replica's human likeness. So basically, what it is, in layman's terms, is like when a robot doesn't look anything at all like a human. It doesn't elicit any weird feelings because it's like a separate entity. But then as you start getting closer to looking like a human, you reach this point where, like, as it starts to get a little bit closer, it's kind of cute. It's like cartoonish, kind of like a human. And then all of a sudden it reaches this tipping point where it looks too human-like, but it's not quite there. And it fucking skeeves you out, and I can relate to this, and then it like gets really, really scary. But then as you get more and more and more human-like, if you get really human-like, it goes back to being like pleasant again, because it just looks like a human. And they use an example of kind of like these lifelike dolls. It made me think of this this weird doll I saw on YouTube, like in Japan. They have these kind of like servant robots. I guess they're they're going to be sex bots. They're clearly going to be sex bots. They're like Japanese women robots that are sexy looking. And they look extremely lifelike. Like, you can look this up on Google. And like the silicone faces, and they're really making the facial expressions and the eye movements close. And it is fucking terrifying to me. Like, I clearly have this Uncanny Valley thing. Like, it scares me in the same way that certain dolls scare me. Where if the doll looks a little bit too human-like with the eyes, I feel like the eyes are watching me. So, and it's just for some reason, if things look really close to human but not quite, it really like elicits a lot of fear inside of me. And there's it's called the Uncanny Valley effect. And it's this dude, Mishiro Mori, 1970. And he was the guy who kind of, figured this out. And also, I'm going to add another thing that I didn't find any research, but this is just me. I think they scare me because they're hiding the person's real identity. Like, I'm like, what they got to hide? I said, like, why you got the makeup on, buddy? I assume it's something terrible. I feel like, if you're a person with nothing to hide from, you don't got to paint your fucking smile on your face. You got a real smile. Why you got to paint it on, you son of a bitch? Because you're a fucking murderer. That's why. I'm completely irrational right now. So, but there was a fear. And I found out there's a name for this fear. It's called Coulrophobia. So coulrophobia is fear of clowns. And there's not like any official hard data about how many people really suffer for it, but there's been some soft kind of studies, and the estimate is around the 12% of adults suffer from it. I feel like that's low. I feel like if 12% are legitimately afraid of clowns, another 30-40% are skeeved the fuck out. Definitely. And I just saw people get scared recently. I was doing morning radio, Kansas City, and promote some shows. And there was some people from a local haunted house that was like kicking up into full gear, and they came to the morning radio place. There's like these radio complexes where there's like 10 stations in one building. And so they came to promote their local haunted house, and there was like 5 of them all dressed up. There was like a werewolf, a Frankenstein, like a mad scientist, some kind of harlequin, kind of mental patient woman, and then this clown, like a clown with a knife. And no one really cared about the other characters, but like I watched the reaction of like 5 different DJs to this group, and 2 of them lost their goddamn minds over the clown. Like, one of them was like, get out, not funny, like was yelling, get out of here. Like not a happy reaction to him at all. He was not pleased. And then this other girl, she like was near tears. Like, she was literally shaking. She like hid in the corner of the room. I laughed at both of those because it wasn't me. So I had a good time with that. Now we have some science about why clowns scary and how common it is to be scared of them. But before we get to this current 2016 scary clown epidemic, I want to know, like, where do clowns even come from? So I did research there. And basically, like, some type of masked comedic performer, as like a jester type, can be traced almost back to like the beginning of recorded history, like 2500 BC with the Egyptians, ancient China, early Native American culture, Hopis, and etc. It's been around a long time, but the modern kind of painted face clown that we think of can be traced back to a London stage performer named Joseph Grimaldi. He was an English comedian who died in 1837. Legend has it he conjured the devil in 1814, and the demon Nosferatu possessed him for the rest of his life. The deal was, the demon would give him the performance skills to become the most famous circus act of his day, but the demon would require he eat at least one Christian baby every year on December 25th. And so, this is fucked up. A baby went missing every Christmas morning in London for several decades. Now, a little context, eating babies was fairly common in early 19th century London. Okay, I made that up, but I made all that up. But Joseph, he was real, but I bet some of you were like, I buy that. Fucking clown. Yeah, eating babies, that sounds right. True story, though, is he died a broke, depressed alcoholic, disabled from numerous accidents, suffered from slapsticky clowning. It left him physically unable to perform the last 15 years of his life. So he's kind of like, he's the originator of the sad clown archetype. Because Charles Dickens, and by the way, his clown name was Joey, and you can find images of it on the web of this Joseph Grimaldi Joey, and it is scary as shit. Like, it is a terrifying, I don't know why the fuck he would choose the costume he did, but it looks sinister, so sinister. Charles Dickens wrote his memoir, and in the Pickwick Papers, 1836, he introduced a literary character clearly based on Grimaldi that was this sad, drunken, dying clown in this book. And a lot of people credit that as the origin of the scary clown in today's literature. Fucking Dickens, man. You know, he's been making readers sad just for hundreds of years now, almost 200 years. I think Great Expectations was the first truly depressing book I ever read. He's king of the bummers. King of the bummer story, old Dickens. And then there was this guy, Philip Astley, who kind of created the modern circus. He's known as the father of the modern circus. He was from 1742 to 1814. And he started off in like, he had like these equestrian kind of events. And he found that out of the kind of horse little shows he was putting on, people liked trick riders the most. And he found that he could, instead of doing it like other people did, just kind of going back and forth, he would do it in a circle. It became the precursor to the modern circus ring. And then he found that in between horses doing tricks, if he had some clowns come out and kind of like, tied people over, like keep the crowd pumped up, that people like that. And that is how today's circus started. And then it goes across the Atlantic. First American clown, this guy John Bill Ricketts. He brought it over to the U.S. and he was a London performer as well. And he did exhibitions, several times a week, and even as as early as 1792 in America. George Washington watched him do stuff, and then then he added clowns and stuff as well. And then it just became a big thing in like the 20th century, but which makes sense. There's no TVs and stuff. I guess people had to go do something. And so that's where circus clowns come from. So now you know that. And then I was thinking, where do evil clowns come from? Where does this mythology start? And turns out, late 19th century in theater and operas and stuff, there was an opera and a play by it's called I can never pronounce Italian words. Pagliacci. It's Italian for clowns. Is this Ruggero Leoncavallo? Is this guy? He's an Italian opera. It's still performed. And I guess there was controversy when it came out. There was this other playwright, Catulle Mendes, this French poet and playwright that did a similar play about clowns as well. But basically, both works feature as murderous clowns as central characters. So the Pagliacci is basically about a dude who's the head of a clown troupe, drinks too much, he's an asshole, suspects his wife of cheating on him, stabs both her and her lover in front of a circus audience. And, it's the first example of a guy whose job is to be jolly, but he's actually a dirtbag underneath and a murderer. And, and I just saved you a lot of money not having to watch some dumbass opera. I'm sure operas are great. They just don't do it for me. But, that's the extremely condensed cliff notes of that. But then the modern star character of the evil clown, Stephen King's It, the one I read, published in 1986. That was the first one to really introduce like a major character in a very popular book who's an evil ass clown to a huge audience. And then another guy that kind of didn't do anybody any favors. Oh, and I was right about 1982 from Poltergeist. There was also a movie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, came out in 1986. It wasn't as known, but it got heavy rotation. Like I want to say, Cinemax, Showtime, HBO. One of those. I remember seeing it late at night when I was watching TV. I wasn't supposed to. It would come on all the time, and that was about a bunch of horrible clowns. And then there was John Wayne Gacy. 1978, he was arrested. This dude killed 33 kids, and he liked to paint pictures of clowns, and he was a fucking a birthday clown called Pogo. So that was really bad for clowns. For the good clowns out there, when that guy got caught, they were just like, God damn it. And then Poltergeist comes, and fucking son of a, and then it, and they're just like, I quit. But there's this evil clown archetype. It does play strongly off the dislike caused to it from the the thing we talked about earlier, the Valley. What the hell was that thing called? I cannot remember. Uncanny Valley. We're already predisposed to kind of not like them, and then these things come out, and it makes it worse, kind of culturally. And then there was this guy, Joseph Derwin, a freelance journalist, studied clowns for years. He studied this study. He said that clowns are universally disliked by children, and some find them quite frightening, unknowable, and again, very reactive to a familiar body type with an unfamiliar face. Okay, we covered that. So anyway, scary. So that's kind of the background of scary clowns in the consciousness. And then previous to 2016, there was another incident, 1981. Very similar to this year. Evil clown sightings swept across the country. Started in Boston, May 6, 1981. Police received a report that one or two men wearing clown outfits were driving a candy-laden van near Brookline's Longwood School. Next day, there was a similar report from Franklin Park, Horseshoe Playing Grounds. This clown reportedly had half a clown suit on. He was naked from the waist down, which is, to me, that's the scariest kind of clown. Clown from the waist up, just rapey from the waist down. Just didn't say if he had a hard on or not, but I mean, I think a clown with a visible erection is like a clown not at a circus with a visible erection, just kind of wandering around. One of the scariest. I feel comfortable saying one of the scariest kind of clowns. Like if someone was like, "Hey man, do you want to see a clown with a knife, or do you want to see a clown with a hard on?" I'd have to really think about it. I'd have follow-up questions, What kind of knife are we talking about? How big is this knife? How athletic does he look with the knife? How big is the dick? Is the dick bigger than the knife? Does the dick look more like a weapon than the knife? A lot of stuff. So anyway, and then there was more stuff. There was more stories. Yeah, schools are being shut down, just like that happened this year. And then this guy, Lauren Coleman, a university professor with a long-standing interest in clowns, he heard about all these sightings, noticed the sightings started popping up around the country. He started corresponding with this loose kind of group of cryptozoologists, people who are into Bigfoot and sightings of strange, unexplained things. These Mulder X-Files types. There's nearly 400 of them he kind of reached out to in this network around the country, and they started gathering, this pre-internet newspaper clippings and realized that this sightings were popping up all over the place. And it became he noticed it was a nationwide phenomena, and then he came up with this theory of the phantom clown. And he says phantom clowns are very specific. There's a clown often in a van, kids being approached, telling adults, and the clown's never being caught. And that's what, when I did the research, none of these clowns were ever arrested. No one ever caught one of these clowns, not one. And when the police followed up with these kids, they found that most of the time they recanted their stories. They took the stories back. They were like, no clowns. And so 1981, it turned out there was nothing. It was a lot of arrests. No arrests. A lot of sightings, no arrests, a lot of smoke, no fire. And so keeping that in mind, I kind of started digging into the 2016 clown phenomenon because, there's all these articles about clowns being seen here, clowns being seen there. But when you dig into it, you're like, yeah, but who saw them? Where's the video? And there might be some prankish type videos that just, jackasses have made. Whatever. Anybody can fucking put on a clown outfit and walk around in the woods and have your video, your buddy tape it and be like, well, there's the creepy clown I was talking about. That's no difference than putting on like a gorilla outfit and be like, there's Sasquatch out there. Like that's just you're just fucking with people. And again, there was like one arrest of I referenced earlier, like the dude in the woods, but they never found out like that person was. There was no like. He wasn't like trying to kill somebody, or he was just being fucking, I don't know, creepy. I don't even know. I couldn't find out why they, like what he was charged with. But I don't know. Maybe he's on private property trespassing. But there was no like crazy malicious thing. It's not like he had a backpack of fucking heads. There's nothing. And so far in 2016, nothing of substance. There's all these things. This one started off in South Carolina in August. Like one woman filed a report with the sheriff because her son saw clowns in the woods whispering, making strange noises. No clowns caught, no arrest made. There was in LaGrange, Georgia, September 14th. There was a report of people dressed as clowns and standing near a white van, like some kind of like kidnapper van. They found a driver who said he had run out of gas, no costumes. And then when they kind of interviewed the people who called in the sightings, the people admitted they made the shit up. And so then that's the actually only kind of charges that have been filed, or like falsifying police reports about this. So why are people doing all this? Why are people making all these claims? Why is it? And it's more and more. It's building. There's more and more sightings. Why is that happening? This mass hysteria. And Jason Seacat, an associate professor. And by the way, this episode is going to run long again. Clearly, you already know that because you know the time thing. This professor of psychology at Western New England University, Springfield, Massachusetts, he suggested another motive for the outbreak. People have a need to feel connected to a news event that has made national headlines. And since the event appears to be difficult to verify, the claim that one has had such an encounter is easy to make and relatively free from the risk of being called out as a fraud. So his theory, it's like low risk of being called out for lying, and then a benefit of positive attention for reporting such a claim. It may motivate people to lie. So people have, I don't know, nothing, bored or whatever, and they just kind of work themselves up, and they just add to this story, and then they get to like, people love, it's like that phenomena I've always been fascinated by of when people get so excited, like I've been out shooting sizzles or whatever, like little video concept you're trying to sell a show idea for, and you have to go shoot something on the street, some like man on the street segment, for example. I'm amazed how many people want to be in the background, and they're like waving to the camera. Like they don't even know what channel it might be on, but they just want to be on something. They want to be a part of something that they can tell their friends, oh, I was on this, look at in the back of the football game. You can see me waving to the camera. And like they get really excited. I've just never given a shit about that kind of stuff to me. But a lot of people like get super excited about wanting to be on the news or something. And I think it's similar motivation. People just want to be like, oh yeah, I was the one who saw that clown. And I'm always amazed how many just like liars there are just in the world, where it's like they will just, make some shit up, but then they get off on people being like, what? There's a fucking clown in the woods? Maybe at first there's a part of them that's like, nah, I misspoke. But then, when they see people being so excited, oh no, there was 3. There wasn't one. There was 3 clowns in the wood. There was one had a knife, one had an axe, one had a pitchfork. Get the fuck, what were they doing? Had blood on them. The weapons had blood on them. Yeah, what did you do? I ran for my life. That's what I did. And they chased me for half a mile. Like the story just gets worked up by people's interest. So then, okay, so I'm thinking, okay, there's all these lies out there, all this, bad rep about clowns. Now we kind of understand where the fear comes from psychologically. But then I started thinking, like, has a clown actually ever killed anybody? Has there been a real life Pennywise? Has there been a real example, even one, of just some clown terrorizing neighborhoods like Michael Myers, Halloween style, and just fucking slashing people? And no, there is no such story, actually. There's people who have committed crimes, like dressed as a clown, like gang stuff. In Mexico, there was some guy who went up to like a drug cartel guy dressed as a clown and tried to perform a gangland execution. But to me, that's like Keanu Reeves, Cape Fear kind of, or Point Break stuff where, yeah, you put it's like bank robbers have worn clown masks. That's very different than a deranged American Horror Story, that character from that show, clown just wandering the woods, because that's the urban legend. And there is no, sorry if you're disappointed by that, but hopefully you're relieved, there's no real example of that. There was a weird story about somebody who, Marlene Warren, she was killed. She opened her front door, and there was a clown there at her door who was holding flowers, and then all of a sudden whips out a gun and shoots her in the chest and kills, no, in the face. I'm sorry, shoots her in the face, kills her. And the eyewitness to this was her son at the house. But if you dig into the story, no arrests were made, but it looks very, very, very much like her husband at the time, estranged husband, was having an affair at work. People report a woman who looked like the woman he was having an affair with buying a clown suit that fit the description of the clown suit several hours earlier before this murder took place at a local costume shop. The guy's alibi, in my opinion, seemed flimsy. It seemed like, to me, again, for whatever, they couldn't link the DNA stuff. They don't have enough, stuff to link him. And, if people can lie to each other, well, I was with her and she was with me, and you can't prove them wrong. But that doesn't seem like a random clown just going up and shooting people. It seems like a dude who didn't want to get caught, so he dressed like a clown, which is fucked up, And there's been creepy pedophile clowns, though. There was a guy, Amon Paul Klutzo Carlock Jr., Springfield, Illinois, clown and former minister. Jesus Christ. He entertained thousands of kids in Sunday school, Christian, initiatives around the world, dressed up like a clown, went to the Philippines, and got arrested for, child sex trafficking. Like, he was going to the Philippines where, fucking kids isn't as closely monitored, and he was fucking kids. And then local authorities caught him, and then he died while being held very suspiciously, and I say good. And there was another similar thing in the U.S. This Jose Guadalupe Jimenez, his clown name was El Tin Lorin. He was like a professional clown, like doing birthday parties and stuff. That was his job. And he kidnapped a girl in L.A., a 12-year-old, and took her out of her house and raped her in a school parking lot. And took her. So that happened. That was a real thing, but no homicidal psychopath clown. But, and we're gonna round this episode out with this, John Wayne Gacy. I referenced him earlier. This is, if you needed some chills this episode, here you go. This guy had this alter ego kind of, Pogo the Clown thing. There's no evidence that he wore the clown suit. He never admitted to wearing the clown suit when he killed. But it's crazy to me that in the 70s, he was able to entertain children as Pogo, even though he had already served 18 months for tying up and sodomizing a teenage boy in the late 60s. Like, he was found guilty of that, of tying up a teenager and fucking him in the ass. And then, I guess they clearly didn't have sex offender registry laws like we do now. He was able to, legally, once he got out, and he only served 18 months, he was able to go do kids' parties. That's so fucked up. Oh, man. So messed up. And then later, in 78, they find out he killed 33 young men. 33 young men, the majority of which were buried in his crawl space. Yikes. And he was a maniac, man. He was a maniac. There was this, one of the examples of his victims, 19-year-old student. This is in 77. Robert Donnelly took him from a Chicago bus stop. Dude, what's up with clowns in Illinois, too, by the way? Because earlier that Klutsko guy, the Philippines Uncle Molesty, he was from Illinois, too. Whew. Something, don't be a clown in Illinois. But anyway, he abducted this 19-year-old student, Robert Donnelly, from a Chicago bus stop at gunpoint, drove him home, raped him, tortured him with various devices, repeatedly dunked his head into a bathtub filled with water until he passed out, then revived him to rape him some more. And this guy got away. He later testified at Gacy's trial that he was in so much pain that he asked Gacy to kill him just to get it over with. Gacy replied, "I'm getting around to it." And then for whatever reason, Gacy decided just to let him go. Maybe just wanted to fuck with him later or something. They told the police he was having slave sex with this kid, but it was all consensual, and the police believed him, because it's not like he went to prison for raping some other kid. Jesus Christ. Man, to be a criminal, I guess back then was a little easier. Hopefully you can't get away with that now. Hopefully, if you have a prior conviction of kidnapping and sodomizing somebody, the next time somebody accuses that, the police are like, let's take this seriously. Let's really take this seriously. In 78, Gacy confessed to police that since 1972, he committed 25 to 30 murders. Once back at his house, the victims would be handcuffed, otherwise bound, sexually assaulted, tortured. He would stick cloth rags in their mouths to muffle the screams. He would partially drown him and then revive them. He would put them in these like wooden stocks kind of thing to hold, so they could be held still while he tortured. He tortured them for hours, and then he would put the body under his bed. This is your fucking creepy detail. The first night after he killed him, he would put them under his bed and then sleep with their dead body underneath his bed. That's scary as shit, right? And then he would bury him in the crawl space. And there's no evidence. Again, he didn't say that he dressed up as a clown, but in my mind, he's sleeping as Pogo the clown up there. That's so scary. That's so scary. Why does that make it scarier? Like, he's already the most evil thing, and then but then I'm like, you add the clown suit, and that's what like kicks it over the top for me. Okay, so there you go. So let's do some top 5 takeaways, all right? If a friend tells you that you saw a scary clown, that they saw a scary clown, odds are you don't have a clown problem. You do have a full of shit friend problem. It turns out it's almost always lies. Number 2, do not hire a male birthday clown from Illinois ever. As I said, it was home of both Pogo and Klutzo, murdering and or molesting monsters. Number 3, just don't hire a birthday clown. Fucking period. They're creepy. I don't care if if there's no evidence of them being homicidal maniacs or even being like pedophiles more than the normal person. There are studies that show kids are scared of them. Why would you do that? Why is anyone hiring them? I'm sorry if you're listening to this and you're a great clown. Fucking people don't like what you do. Stop it. Write me in. If you're like, nuh-uh, I want to see some testimonials. I want to see some testimonials of you being like, bullshit, and then, some kind of quotes which you could make up. I'd like to see a video of just kids on YouTube being like, man, clowns are the best. I think I was one of the last of those kids. Number 4, all right? There isn't one example of someone dressed as a clown going around murdering people. If you run into a clown, overwhelming odds are that he or she will not murder you. However, there's a small chance they may molest you. But statistically, again, no more of a chance than someone else doing it. Overwhelming odds they're not gonna make you laugh though, okay? Because they're creepy and they're not amusing. And if they were to molest you, I feel like more damaging than being molested by someone who's not a clown. But I don't want to trivialize molestation, but I'm saying if in some weird scenario someone's like, do you want to be molested by the dirtbag Johnny over there? Or do you want to be molested by Bozo McTicklefinger? I don't know where that Bozo McTicklefinger, just made that up. I'm going to go with dirtbag. I don't want either one. Both are bad, but I feel like I can more easily mentally recover from a non-clown. And 5, if Stephen King is ever murdered, I feel like there's a very good chance it'll be at the hands of a clown, because if you're a clown, tweet apology aside, that doesn't matter, because no one in history has given your career field more negative PR than he did with the publication of It. Like, that had to, I have no stats to back this up, but clown work had to drop off dramatically in the late 80s. And that's it. And that's Timesuck, man. We learned a lot about the 2016 phenomena, about why people are scared of clowns, about why I'm scared of clowns. And I don't know if this one makes you, hopefully this thing makes you feel better. But it is a phobia. It's so irrational. So, it's by nature irrational. So if you're scared, you're going to still be scared. But it did make me feel a little better to know that all these sightings are nonsense. It's just people, it's like a Bigfoot craze, which I guess we haven't had one like that. But it's like, when people start talking about, chupacabra or some shit, and there's eyewitness accounts or a bunch of UFO sightings, that one maybe is real. I want to hold on to that one being real. But you know what I mean. It's just like this mass hysteria. And next week, I want to find out where Halloween itself. We're going to go full Halloween, because it's going to be on Halloween, and just find out, what's up with that. And take a second to rate Timesuck on whatever platform you happen to listen to it on. The more ratings it gets, the more people notice it, the more people listen, the more incentive I have to do more research and have more fun and deliver episode after episode. I really am enjoying this a lot. And I got 5 albums on iTunes, Amazon. You know, if you want to check out my stand-up or make a Dan Cummins Pandora station, you can do that. That's easy. And again, man, reach out. You know, you can just email me if you don't want to go to Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, dan@dancummins.tv. You can give me suggestions on the podcast or tell me what you want to hear in a future episode. And that's it. And I'll talk to you next week on Timesuck.